This is the finals. We're here on Xbox Series X taking a look at the beta experience for the game. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So what are we getting here? It does look like it is trying to attempt to get to a 4K resolution, but it is dynamically resolution scaling quite a bit. It does look quite sharp. It does have ray tracing applied. And that element is kind of neat, as I'm assuming it has some level of illumination element to it. And 60 FPS, which is kind of expected. It's a free-to-play multiplayer shooter that is like this weird mix of, I don't know if you'd call it really a battle royale, I don't know if you call it like a bit of a looter shooter, but you're kind of going in as a team, you're in teams of 3. You're trying to grab money, and you're trying to take that money and then bank it. And then you score points based on how much you bank and how much your team has, and that's kind of how you win. That's pretty much what this game is. Now what makes it so interesting is the fact that this game has incredibly high octane levels of destruction. Like, the world itself literally just gets absolutely torn to shreds during combat. It's not, I don't know how to describe it, it's not like a direct sort of like you just shoot things and they break apart, but you know, destruction, explosions, stuff like that. You literally, like, whole floors blow up, you see stuff topple over, buildings, the interiors kind of like just crack and break. It's quite interesting. It's a level of destruction we haven't really seen since the attempts with Battlefield back in the day, and I don't know what it is, but whatever the case is for that SMG, it just like shakes everything. Well, in the settings you can adjust the FOV as well if you'd like to. It's a very intriguing sort of game with its destruction. It really genuinely is. And it's kind of like, it has its moments where it's sort of fun. You know, the gameplay is pretty interesting, and there's some different dynamic classes and stuff that you can create as you kind of unlock gear and whatnot. It's interesting. I think it nails the movement and traversal. You know, you definitely get some fun tools for moving around and shooting and attacking other players. I would say, though, that the gunplay definitely needs some work. It's a little... Actually, we'll take the elevator. It's a little hard to kind of aim and shoot, and it takes a while to, like, kill some folks, and I always feel like I get shot really quickly, and I don't know. The gunplay, it feels very awkward. Same with, like, meleeing, unless you have, like, a melee weapon. That part of it feels a little weird and could use, I think, a little bit of work. But you get some neat abilities. It's neat how reactive the world is. Like, we have, like, the goo grenade is a lot of fun. You throw it, like, sets up a goo wall, and you know, you pick up propane tanks and these, like, incineration type kind of jugs, and you know, light things on fire and stuff. And yeah, I could see how a lot of people might really be into this sort of thing. Again, I find it kind of, it's so-so. Like, it's kind of neat, it's kind of fun. I do, for me, kind of question longevity-wise how intrigued I am. I think there needs to be a bit more team distinction too. You know, like, you do have, like, team distinction when you die and you become these little toy things, but, like, regularly you don't really notice the difference between the teams, and it seems like everything is, like, just AI generated for that kind of setup, and it's very strange. There is a host of different weapons and guns, though, and the character sizes actually matter a bit. Certain character sizes can do certain things. They have access to certain tools. So depending on what size of character you make, and you know, there's lots of customization, and you know, it's a free-to-play game, so it's going to have a ton of microtransaction costumes and stuff you can get, obviously. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer there, right? But yeah, I think this one has like a decent amount of potential. Like, it looks, you know, aesthetically quite pleasing. It does have a very interesting, sort of like a Mirror's Edge kind of vibe to it. Wow, we won already? That was insanely quick. So yeah, there's definitely a lot to be intrigued about with this one. I think as a shooter, it's gonna hit with people pretty well. I mean, the presentation is sleek, it's well set up with the maps. I actually like the variety of different maps. And that the maps have weathering, and that the maps really can't get smashed around, and they have a different look and feel to them, each of the different levels. Which is kind of impressive to actually have that, like, selection of content. Like, I played it for quite a few hours, and it doesn't feel like I'm necessarily playing in the same spaces all the time. That's kind of hard to, you know, kind of nail and get well. And yeah, I think this one has the potential to do pretty well, like, and hit and find its audience. We'll have to wait and see. I just, like, I don't know how to best describe it. Like, the gunplay, you know, I've mentioned definitely could use some cleaning up, and maybe it'll feel better then, but it also kind of feels a little meh. It kind of feels a little bit like Hyperscape from a number of years ago, and, you know, that was okay, that one was fun, but, like, it didn't really necessarily last. And that's what I kind of wondered with this one, is this, like, is this something that's really going to catch on, or is it very temporary? And that's a big question when you come into a beta on something like this, is sort of like, you know, what is the long term of this one? Is it going to hit off? Is it going to deliver? Is it going to be exciting? Like, it's cool. You know, it's got, like, I guess you could describe it as a bit of a sterile type look, where it is sort of reminiscent of, like, Mirror's Edge, Battlefield a little bit, depending on the battlefield you're looking at, maybe like a little bit like Battlefield 3, but with a modernized aesthetic. It's kind of nice looking though, right? Like, I think visually it does actually, you know, look very clean and well set up, and the character models are very well done. I think the big thing here though is the destruction. The destruction looks really, really cool. There's times where you're running around and it's just like there's this clutter falling everywhere, and it's really, really quite surreal. I was like, oh wow, there's a lot going on. It's very, very cool. And as I had mentioned, reminiscent of the Battlefield era, where they were really pushing the boundaries of, like, you know, breaking stuff, smashing stuff. The world feeling lively as you move through it as things break down. I did notice some performance issues when playing on this one, some stuttering type things, but I would imagine that will likely be cleaned up, as, you know, it is a beta, so it is a work in progress. But as a beta, it is quite well polished. I think this one really is set up quite well. There's something very satisfying about being like, okay, I want to get there. How can I get there? And you kind of be a little creative. You know what I mean? Like, the world is very reactive, which is interesting. You know, not only in the sense that, like, you can, you know, see, like, a window, break it. See a wall, you can kind of blow it up or whatnot. And you have, like, a certain class, you can kind of sledgehammer things. But, you know, the world itself, traversal-wise, is really, really well designed. Like, it's filled with little fun things like this, where you shoot it down and an explosive bear, like canisters come down and you blast off and stuff, which is fun. It is. It's a lot of fun to have stuff like this. I do wish the explosives did a little bit more damage to things, like people, because they kind of seem a little secondary to that conflict. But what I mean is kind of like, as you're moving through the world, there's things, you know, there's ladders, there's walls, there's kind of different ways to get into places. You know, you can break open a wall, climb in there, maybe you'll find like a vent like this, smash the vent, move through. There's like a lot of functionality for allowing you to get to different places really fast, jump pads, and it's a segmented set of maps where you're playing on like differing islands of sorts. You know, these set pieces. I'm trying to think of the game it reminds me of, but that is kind of it. It's a big thing where it's kind of like you can traverse it how you want, and if you get other tools, like you can hook onto things, zip line to things. Like, there's a lot of different methods for getting around, and I think as you unlock more stuff, and people unlock more stuff, you'll see more and more creative classes for movement and enjoyment and interactivity, which is good. We still have like a full, well, I guess some people have left. It's got the strange sometimes where it's like too quiet, and sometimes it's so frantic. Like, where is everybody? What are they all doing? You know, just kind of chilling around. But the world itself, very, very interesting. Because you got these set pieces from, like, different locations. and all of them seem to be very, you know, kind of filled with depth and things you can like interact with and destroy. I love the goo wall. The goo walls are just like a joy. They really, really nailed the goo walls. But yeah, it's just kind of like this hectic, you know, kind of fast-paced experience where there's chaos almost at every turn. Lots of shooter action. Though at the heart of it all, it really, you know, that aspect of the gunplay does need to be cleaned up, because I think that is probably one of the most important, if not the most important aspect of this. You know, you can have all this crazy cool destruction, but it's got to feel good on the controller, right? Like for shooting, and I don't know if it's like an aim thing or what, but like it can be really frustrating to try to take people down, and it just gets annoying, and you're just kind of like, ugh. It doesn't feel as smooth as it should be. It doesn't feel as smooth as the gameplay feels. I think that's a major issue. It's like as I move around, this all feels great. Like you just, with ease, you get around and come up with clever ways to get into different places, and that's all perfect, but like, the shooting part of it, which is where the combat comes in, doesn't feel as though it matches or hits well. That's a problem. So I gotta like blow open. There we go. Light myself on fire. And the gameplay mechanic is simple and straightforward. There's a lot of the time where I feel like I'm not necessarily doing anything though. Like point-wise, like I feel like a lot of it I don't even necessarily collect coins, or if I get coins I die pretty fast with them. Which can be a little annoying, but gameplay-wise, it is very straightforward. You know, you go gather coins, kill other people, and prevent other teams from gathering coins. I do wish there was a bit more of an emphasis on kind of like distinction between the teams. It feels like you're a squad if you hang out with your teammates at all, and essentially like everyone else is just a bunch of enemy players. It doesn't feel like distinct squads, and I think having some sort of more coloring scheme or some sort of deeper level of distinction is, aside from like what feels like randomly generated squads, random names that don't mean anything. I think they could go a lot further with that concept, and I think that almost impacts the gameplay negatively to me, because I'm kind of like, okay, who am I with? Who are we up against? Why does it matter? Also, the halftime, I don't get why that matters. Strange. They do really have a neat thing going on for this game. I really do ponder. Like I kind of sit here and I'm like, oh, long term, I'm not sure if this is going to do crazy or make it and stuff, but I'm also sitting here being like, it's not bad to play. It's not blowing my mind. I'm definitely not like, oh my god. I don't know why. I should be for the destruction. Like, the destruction's really, really cool. It genuinely is. The fact that, like, you know, you can shred all these buildings. It's like, oh, wow. You know, we haven't seen stuff like that in a long time, and it's like, I wish more games played around with that concept, especially since we're supposed to have, you know, more capable physics. I guess, you know, the fact that they do the destruction and it runs like it does is kind of amazing, but, like, yeah, I just really do kind of go, oh, okay. It's just the gameplay itself, kind of meh. Physics, destruction, visuals, everything like that, really, really cool. Yeah, I'd have to see this with the gameplay, combat, shooting and stuff adjusted. I think would be the biggest thing for, like, that would, like, spur an intrigue that's higher for me. It's like, it's all fine and good. It's just like, I wish I could, like, more easily shoot people and take people out. Because so often it's just like, you're missing, you're doing weird jumps. Like, it makes the combat just comes across as really awkward. Where we're in this, like, dancing duel, and, like, we're going around each other in circles spraying, and it doesn't really hit. Or I try to melee and it completely misses. I don't know if that's more aim assist is needed, or just the setup of how your, you know, kind of bullets hit, or maybe it's, maybe the time to kill needs to go down. I don't know. I got grapple hooked off to infinity. I don't know if that's designed for a way that's supposed to create more dynamic back and forth combat moments, but it just didn't feel quite right to me in this one, and that's why it's been such a big hurdle for me in this video, kind of talking about and going over, is because it is something that I've so, you know, kind of deeply thought about when playing this game. Thing that constantly comes to mind. But these goo grenades are fantastic. Like, there's so many more intriguing elements in regards to, like, different gear and stuff you can get, but... Yeah, I do enjoy the goo grenades. They're very, very entertaining. Not to mention all of the, weird kind of stuff you can get up to, and just, like, the destruction element of it. Okay, well, I didn't want to open up a wall right here. That wasn't my intention. Kind of wanted to open up a wall in the ceiling so that you could see up there. Yeah, some of the explosives and stuff, physics-wise, things just go off in weird directions. Kind of actually entertaining a little bit. There we go. And networking-wise, that could be a little smoother. I don't know how quite to describe it. Like, it takes a long time for things to connect, like post-match and stuff like that. Matchmaking is quick, but I mean, it's beta, it's concentrated amounts of people, it makes sense. It's just like, yeah, essentially, after the match, you'll have to wait like a long time to get things going, which is annoying, because it's like, oh, I just want to kind of get to the next match. Oh, we're 3rd place. Unbelievable. They're off to fight one more time in a randomly new place, shooting through the scene of chaos and destruction. That's right. And yeah, it took a bit of a gap to get back into this next match. Just kind of funny because, yeah, I don't know. Network, stuff like that, beta stuff, you know how it is. How is this other propane tank still completely fine when I should have blown it up with that propane tank thing? Very, very strange. Woo! So that's kind of entertaining. Yeah, they got some good stuff going for this one. They got some stuff that needs to be adjusted. I think overall most people are probably going to be like, oh, cool, check it out, see if they like it. Long-term wise, I don't know how well this is going to stick with me, and I'm very curious to see how everyone else is going to respond to it. Because I'm like, yeah, it's cool and whatnot, but I'm also like, I don't know, something about it doesn't really like, oh wow, that actually got dropped down there. Doesn't really like fully catch my attention like other things, but you know, I've been going steady on this for quite a few hours, so that could be it too. Come on, teammate. He's just standing right there. All you have to do is shoot him so I can get the thing in. Still didn't even kill that person? Oh, wow. Unbelievable. I can't even. I am kind of really impressed, though, by the design of, like, the plants and the buildings and stuff, like the texturing. Like, it looks strangely like realistic and stuff. And I mean, obviously I think that's what they were going for, but it's just, it's neat to get something that looks this good, performs this well, you know, aside from an issue here or there for, like, you know, but that'll be something they'll probably patch up. And then to have that layering of destruction to it is rather fascinating. Very curious how they actually technically achieve that sort of thing, if that makes sense, because most of the time you kind of sit here and you're like, oh, you know, we had to make sacrifices to get performance, fluidity, blah blah blah, to make it look good, but yeah, no, they seem to actually kept all that going. Don't throw the coin off the ledge. Ah, terrible. But yeah, it's just kind of annoying when you're trying to shoot things and it's just like, so awkward that it's not lining up for you. Really? I am really satisfied by the destructive bits though. It's really neat. Like at some point I'm hoping that there's some kind of deep dive tech talk about, like, you know, technology talk about this one, because it is utterly quite fascinating, and it really does, more than anything, even itself, make me want a new Mirror's Edge game. I'm kind of being like, huh, Mirror's Edge could look really fancy and clean in the modern era. Yeah, if you just kind of kept these aesthetics and put them into the context of a Mirror's Edge game. But I think after Catalyst, we're probably not getting anything else. I'm completely being sidetracked, but it's just kind of where my mind is going playing this, because I can't help but think of other things while also running around and about in this one. But yeah, I don't know what you would call this. Extraction shooter? Not really. Battle royale? I don't know, not really, but maybe kind of. More like a looter shooter, depositing cash money taking thing, but it works, it has its strengths, it has some weaknesses, and I look forward to seeing what the final product really has to offer, I guess. I hope it cleans up well and nicely.